Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Erin Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning. We help our client make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy with several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Rob, Erin, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Gang, good morning. Another fun day Saturday.
Another warm day Saturday.
Yeah, I think we're in the last throes of the heat dome.
The heat dome.
It's St. Louis. Just you have to blink, it'll be 100 degrees in 10 seconds. So either case, we hope to heat things up in the studio this morning. The way we do that is by answering your questions and your texts to 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire or they're already retired. And as Erin mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun, financially successful, and worry-free retirement. And that's what it's all about. And as a housekeeping matter, we do want to remind folks there are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. You just click on that sign up button, give us a little bit of your contact information, and Rob will send it out to you every single month by email. You can also click the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can ask us a question, which we will attempt to get back to you within about 24 hours. Rob, tell us, this is a long month.
Yeah, we got 5 weekends in August.
5 Saturdays in August, but tell us, what is in our August newsletter?
I got some great articles in there you're certainly going to want to peruse. The first one being Saving Social Security, which solutions do Americans support, according to a 2025 trustee survey. Social Security will only be fully funded unless some tweaks are made until 2033. It's important to note, and the article makes mention, that there are some tweaks that can be made to the payroll tax portion of the IRS code that will solve or fill that funding shortfall. So it's important to note. What I find fascinating with this article is the options that Americans approve of, which surprisingly they aren't enthusiastic about cutting benefits, and
Shocking.
They're much more open to raising revenue, which, when you think about it, makes sense. Our next article, Avoiding Probate with TOD, Deed and TOD accounts. If you want to make passing on your home, retirement accounts, or bank accounts to a loved one easy and efficient without going through probate, then a TOD deed and designations are definitely something to take advantage of. And our next article will walk you through some of the states that allow for that, more than half do, and the process for going through that. And our next article, navigating financial conversations with aging parents. Talking about money can be difficult. Talking about financing with your aging parents, even more so.
Honey, you never had an issue about talking with me about money.
It's called gimme.
Well,
No.
You just jumped in on my joke. That's fine.
No.
It's all right. I'll wait till next week.
This article is a great jumping off point to having these conversations, or at the very least, getting a handle on, where documents are stored, passwords, things like that, in case something happens to an aging loved one, so you're able to at least keep their affairs in good order. So,
well, I do see that one of the reasons you might be unwilling to talk at first is because you're reluctant to give up control. And I just want you to know, you don't have to be reluctant.
You are my prodigal daughter, so I like that.
Don't
honey.
have
I like
to hesitate.
That. I don't have to hesitate. It's okay. Thank you.
There'll be more next week.
and our last...
I can't wait. That was a good one, though. That was rather spontaneous, and Thank you, honey.
I'm making myself laugh too hard. Go ahead.
And our last article, staycations are about more than saving money. 61% of respondents in a March 2025 survey said they planned on vacationing locally. Using your home as a base camp is a way to reduce spending, but also stress. And let's face it, traveling is stressful. Going to the airport, I don't know about you, but it's not an enjoyable experience for me. Checking into hotels can be an ordeal. Worrying about what the weather might be when you get to your favorite locale is another matter entirely. For those reasons and many others, you may want to, if you're considering taking a vacation, you may want to do it locally, and a staycation is a great idea. There's plenty of local attractions, parks, trails.
Well, this is really a timely article because, Dad, we were just talking about this morning.
And we were just talking about that with your sister last night.
That Lambert is shutting down like 6 or 7 direct flights. So now we're down to something like 71 direct flights out of Lambert.
Okay, I thought you were going to give me you're getting so old that you really should think about reducing your travel, but
no, we're waiting for next week for more old jokes.
That
just
sounds
doling them out. I've got 5 weeks of August.
Well, Rob, let me add something to this really, I think, very nice article that you put together. It isn't unusual for me, at least I have in the past, is to recommend staycations to our clients that are maybe sitting on the fence and considering retirement. You take off a week from work.
You just started relaxing by the time you get to the end of the week.
You haven't had an opportunity to really experience what retirement might actually be. So if you can take that, maybe you can take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, et cetera, at a time. When you're really considering this strongly, put yourself in a position where, hey, I need to get in that mindset so that I can say, hey, what are my new rituals going to be? Where am I going to be spending my time? Who am I going to be spending my time with?
This is a good point because after your first week, everyone, when they get that 1 week of vacation, usually there's travel involved, so that cuts down the amount of time you're actually relaxing. Or even if you do stay at home, you've got a bunch of things that you want to catch up on from the previous week or that you didn't get to, a little like home repairs, things like that, or little errands to do. But when you get into week 2 and 3, potentially, now you're done with all of those things. What comes next?
Well, sure, and it's really a rehearsal for your ultimate staycation, which is retirement. Staying away from work.
Absolutely. And, the article makes a great point about, if you didn't want to use your home as a home base in a staycation type setting, because, the temptation to look at an email or grab your phone is just too much, you may want to consider somewhere that you can drive to, and maybe get a hotel, take advantage of some of the amenities that the hotel, whether it's a pool, the clubhouse, room service, spa treatments, certainly a decent alternative than a traditional,
flying somewhere.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Or, like you were saying, Rob, maybe you're going to a certain area you're considering maybe spending a lot of time at, and maybe you're renting
like an
a place.
Airbnb or something
right.
like that.
And so that you can really check out the area, figure out where are the places that you want to frequent.
I know that's something
the
that
hospitals, the restaurants, the gyms, the social venues.
Religious places, churches, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, where are you going to be spending your time rather than committing?
I also think this is a great point you've made that point to many of our clients that are considering a move to where the grandchildren are or where the kids are. Mm-hmm. Well, you want to be close enough to drive to them, maybe the same city, but do you want to be in that same part of town? Is your life going to really be like that? Or do you want to rent something, try it out, see where your part of town is or where you tend to gravitate to before you make that commitment to move or even to rent something long term? You get to test it out a little bit on the front end.
And it's better to look and not leap than to leap and wish that you looked.
Yeah, unfortunately, in today's market, real estate is a highly illiquid asset. It is. It's difficult. Sure. And you want to make sure that, especially if you're considering relocating, that you're in the right neighborhood. It's hard to tell what that is unless you give it a little bit of time. Give it some opportunity to really check out what your surroundings. We talked to clients in the past. As an example, when your mom and I had a home in California, which you never came to visit, which I could appreciate. Too many relatives out there. Is many of our friends moved into this particular 55-plus community because it was near the kids.
Right.
So the question becomes, do you want to be in that type of a community, which we've talked to a lot of clients about, or a country club community, or just a up-and-coming neighborhood, a home, do you need access to a pool? I mean, should not have to necessarily take care of it yourself. What are the right living arrangements? Figuring this out can be really important. So do a staycation if you can before you leap.
Good point.
Absolutely. And I remember when I first moved here, I used to think Chesterfield was the belle of the ball, and
we cured you.
Yeah,
Well, it's the same idea as. You even when you're buying a house, I didn't realize that this was in the path that all the ambulances take to the hospital, and I hear them going all the time. Like being able to experience a little bit, and like you said, Dad, it really makes financial sense to test something out before you make a pretty significant purchase or commitment. It could be that you bought a rental for a year-long rental or a year-long lease rather. Just makes sense to check things out in advance. But thanks, Rob, for an excellent August newsletter. You can find it on the website, jblfinancial.com. Click on the sign up button, and Rob will be sure to send it out to you every single month.
Absolutely, and we're just speed running the weekends here. We're already halfway done with the August newsletter. I'll be putting the new one together probably next week.
That's right, coming up.
And our phone lines are open. We're live and local. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Before we start our show today, well, we've already kind of started. I do want to give a shout out to one of my friends.
Oh,
one of my golf buddies.
Yes.
And his wife, of course, because she's, caregiver.
The greatest.
She is the greatest, and probably fan number 2 of the show. Good surgery, healthy recovery. Our thoughts, our prayers are all with you.
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And thanks so much for listening because, he used to be at work, but now he's stuck.
That's right. Well, now just think of it. After he makes that full recovery, less excuses for only one golf day a week with you.
I got to tell you, it was so funny because we play golf. Thursday afternoon is sort of our regular, afternoon golf day. And it was his last round probably for the year because really the season here ends, usually it's October, November, December, it gets a little too cold. He was playing out of his mind.
Oh, was it an excellent send-off?
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, I think he
kicked your butt.
Oh, he was killing me. I mean, he had like 5 pars in the first 7 holes.
Wow.
And I'm going, hello. Don't wake up.
All right,
But
did you buy him lunch?
No. He actually had a date afterwards with his wife, etc. So he had to run away early. We won't talk about the rest of the. He didn't give me the details of what happened afterwards, but I knew where he was going, so that's kind of fun.
Nice.
But again, our best well wishes to him and his family as far as that goes. Can't wait to buy you lunch soon or a little Buffalo Trace next time I see you. But again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. And so while we're waiting for your phone calls, your text messages, let's get to our rock stars of the week, first story of the day, and of course, it's about Joe and Sally.
And Joe and Sally came to see us. They both worked for a large airplane manufacturer near the airport. Joe, who's 56, is retired. Sally is 56 as well, wants to retire at the end of the year.
So how'd Joe get away with this?
How'd he get to retire first? This is a great question because they are the same age. So the whole Sally's younger thing isn't going to fly.
Well, a lot of times it comes down to, does Sally still feel like, and she did, that she had maybe a little tread left on her tires? But they're real questions, and they had 3 big questions, and not different than what most folks do have when they come to visit with us. Do we have enough to retire? How do we take money out of these accounts?
Especially because they're 56.
Exactly. And what are the tax implications? And can we do all the things that we want to do? That is, have the income stream, spend money, etc., deal with repairs, etc., and not consume our capital, not go broke?
Well, can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Since Joe is already retired, are they just currently living off of Sally's salary?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're youngsters, so Social Security isn't even a discussion.
Not at the moment, at least.
No,
yeah, they got a ways for that.
They have 6 years. So let's talk a little bit about the assets that are available to them to deal with answering these questions.
They have traditional IRA assets, including lump sums, of $2.9 million. They have Roth IRA accounts worth $245,000.
Woohoo!
Absolutely. Health savings accounts with $65,000. Great job, guys. They have investment accounts that have $1.1 million. They have some money market and CDs at $400,000. So that brings the grand total of accumulated cash to $4.7 million.
Well heeled.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Big savers, big investors, but youngsters.
That's right.
And when you're under 59 and a half, you got issues. What do you do?
Right. Did Joe already execute a rollover into an IRA, or are his assets still in the 401k plan with Sally's?
Well, now, Erin, of course, we wouldn't recommend that he roll his money over yet because he would have closed the door.
Well,
right?
Sure. I just didn't know if he maybe...
The 55-plus rule.
Right. I just didn't know if he had done it prematurely since we hadn't seen that he's already retired before they saw you guys.
At this point, no, because he, again, he's in a mix that he liked.
Got ya.
Nobody could force him out.
Right.
Of the plan. And so he's sitting there, and again, what he and Sally are really looking for is direction.
Got ya.
The sequencing of when to pull money from these accounts, what are their options, what are the tax implications?
Well, this is
very important to them.
And this is a great example of waiting before you make some decisions on your own to sit down with a professional, because simply by having Joe having left that money inside of his 401k, it keeps all of his options open, like you mentioned, that they've got that 55 and older rule. And for listeners, Rob, can you remind everybody what that one is?
The rule of 55 is an IRS policy that allows workers to take early withdrawals from their employer-sponsored retirement accounts, such as a 401k, 403b, at age 55 or older without paying the 10% penalty, provided that they've left those jobs. So they're no longer in service to that retirement plan.
So
Right.
Joe's a perfect example of somebody that still has the opportunity to take advantage of that, but as soon as you roll the money,
that over, now you're no longer under the rules of the 401k. Now you're under the rules of the IRA, which stipulate that you cannot take unless you do a 72T, which would allow you to access some of those funds. But then you're on a IRS schedule for 5 years or until you're 59 and a half, whichever is longer. But now we're getting into the weeds of it. But your overall point that once you move that money over, you're not
close some
governed.
doors.
right,
Exactly.
you're locked in.
You know, it's interesting because they have a very large Roth,
Yes, which they can't touch yet.
which is right, which is locked away.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know. I assume you could do a 72T from a Roth, but I don't know why you would. They do have HSA accounts, which frankly can be very important for them.
Sure, especially being 56.
Right, and then if Sally does, obviously, Sally does, if she decides to retire, which we know that she is in a position to do so, they're going to have to pay premiums.
Right.
They're going to have COBRA. Obviously, they're going to have COBRA for 18 months. They're going to have to go to the Unaffordable Care Act for a couple of years
Right.
before they become Medicare eligible. So they have a pool of money they can access tax-free.
Right. We're really talking about 8 years of elevated premium payments, because if
And they don't care.
Right. They're 56. Well,
Right.
it might be a little bit less. They're 56. If Sally works till the end of the year, that means she's got 18 months starting January 1st of COBRA that Joe will also have access to.
Because he's still covered by her plan.
Right. And then they'll have to move over to an individual policy before they get to Medicare eligibility at 65.
Absolutely. So we know that their investment accounts, which again, and as well as money market and CDs, are after-tax accounts. So they certainly could access money to fill the gap before Social Security eligibility. They also obviously have the 55 and over rule, 55 to 59 rule, for money that's inside of their 401k plans.
So,
If they decide they want to access, if he wants to access his, Sally can't until she quits, and then she's still younger, and then she could access hers as well.
so really the cool thing is that the only money that is truly unavailable to them at the moment is the Roth IRA account. I mean, you could do a 72T on that, like Rob mentioned, but if we just say let's set that to the side because it's got some additional rules around it, as soon as Sally retires, the rest of their assets are available to them for us to help build some income.
Okay, so honey, let me double back here on the 72T.
Sure.
So let's use an example. Let's assume that of their IRA assets, or 401k that can become IRA assets, 1.5 million is in Joe's name.
Okay, so about half.
He hasn't pulled the money yet.
Sure.
If he was to then move that money to an IRA, obviously doing a tax-free transfer, and say, okay, you know what, I want to start a 72D distribution, which is substantial equal distribution for 5 years, or till 59 and a half, whichever is greater, as Rob was talking about.
So in this case, it would be the 5 full years.
Yes.
So he'd bring him out to about 61 that he would be under that schedule.
Yes.
Exactly. And so and we know that generally the factor that's used to determine the amount is very similar to the RMD amount.
Right. It's about
4%.
You have about 3 options. Some will give you a little less. Some will give you a little more than 4%.
Right. So the average is 4. So let's just say that they decide, okay, I'm going to pull my money, move it to an IRA, start the 72D distribution. I'm going to lock ourselves into $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month, taxable distributions
For
every
5
year,
years.
not subject to. For 5 years, not subject to the 10% rule unless we take more money
Or less.
money. You have to take exactly that amount for that 5-year period. So let's go. So now that we've talked a little bit about all those kind of options, let's just talk about their goals, right?
Right. So first, easy to start off with, what is their income goal?
$9,000 a month. And we know we have to scale that up over 12 months. That leaves us with $108,000 to make their life work.
And we also have to scale that up for taxes. So we're going to do that by 20%, which means that $108,000 really becomes about $30,000 a year, which means at 4%, they need about $3.2 million. So the really cool thing is that even without factoring in Social Security,
Right.
we know that Joe and Sally over the long term are going to be able to make their retirement work because it's only going to get better as additional income starts to layer in.
Yeah, and so getting back to the 4%, which we consider as a prudent withdrawal rule, we use that in our practice. We're working back the income, dividing by 4%, giving us a capital amount. They have $4.7 million. If they needed to access that full $130,000 a year, we're now looking at less than a 3% withdrawal rate. So if we think that 4% is prudent, they're in a good place.
They're in a
a very good place. And we have not even included Social Security benefits,
which will layer in over time. But as you said, Dad, we're so far out at this point, even if we were considering taking it 62, that the real important conversation to start is, do we have enough to make it work for those years without Social Security? And we also know that we have enough buffer that when we have to pull in elevated premiums before we get to Medicare eligibility, they have the ability to do that as well.
And having that $65,000 in the HSAs is, that's just wonderful benefit.
It's gold. It's gold for them. So you figure they need 130.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume Sally's retired, okay? And they haven't decided to do any 72. They're not going to do any of that stuff.
Gotcha.
They need to pull 130 times 3 years, which is approximately $390. If we take $390 off of their $4.7 million, we'll call $400,000 for fun. That leaves us with $4.4 million. Again, the number is $3.2 million.
Is our goal.
Is our goal. Forget about it. It's easy, right?
That's right.
It's easy peasy. So that's something to good about. But
why don't we, before we get to some of the issues, why don't we take our first break and then we can come back and pick up on?
Absolutely.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these brief messages.
The views and opinions expressed in the preceding paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Hi, this is Dr. Dan Lang. Join me for Animal Talk every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 on the Big 550 KTRS, the Animal Talk of St. Louis.
Call the closer with Lauren Risley Realty every Sunday afternoon at 1. Powered by Homestead Financial Mortgage on the Big 550 KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
Greetings. I'm Camille Reinhold with Happy Brain Counseling in Kirkwood, Missouri. Please tune in to our show monthly. On Sundays, please check us out at happy-brain.com.
Happy Brain, now monthly Sunday 5 to 6. For show schedule, go to ktrs.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to the show. It's 9:33 here on the Big 550 KTRS. One half of our number one has already gone.
Yes, it has.
But we're open for your phone calls as well as your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from text line. So before our break, we were talking about Joe and Sally. They've got about $4 million of assets, $3 million of them retirement assets. They're youngsters, under 59 and a half. We have some restrictions on how to pull money.
Right.
We know that they have enough to deal with the $130,000 of income. We've come up with to that conclusion. So now let's talk a little bit about the fun. As far as I'm concerned, this is the fun part, which is this is the war game. How do we deal with taxes in the most effective way? How do we deal with their liquidity in the most effective way, as well as their future needs? And so we're going to do it in two phases. Phase one is how do we pull money from now until they're eligible for their Social Security benefits? And then B, what happens after that.
And we're just going to assume they both take it 62. However, that isn't necessarily the final decision, just for the purposes of our conversation now. Pre-62, post-62.
They can pull whenever they want.
Right. Well, right.
Actually, I would probably suggest they pull. Why wait? If there's a survivor...
Their
right.
income is going to be... The Social Security benefit is making up a smaller portion of their income, and they have such a large amount of capital available to them that they would be able to make income work regardless of...
Really
Why not take the pressure off their retirement assets?
Right.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. So we know they need $130,000 a year. Let's call that $11,500 per month.
Okay.
We know that basically $8,000 per month of taxable income keeps you in the 12% bracket.
That's right, because $96,000 is the very top of the 12% bracket if you are married filing jointly.
Cool. So what we're going to then do is say, okay, fine. They need 11.5. 8,000, or I'm sorry, 8,000 a month could come from distributions from
the 401k.
Joe's 401k under the 55 rule. But what about the other 3,500?
Maybe we should consider utilizing some of those maturing CDs.
There you go. Good, very good idea. Matching the maturities of those CDs to when we need the money. We certainly could look at money market accounts. Also, if we're looking at their non-taxable sources, are there sales that we can make that will minimize capital gains? Can we do tax harvesting, et cetera, as a way to generate some of that cash? Which would be cool. And we're going to need to do that probably for about 6 years until they reach 62.
Right.
When we hit 62, let's just assume that between the two of them, their Social Security benefits are going to be approximately $3,000 each or $6,000 per month. So that would mean that they need 11.5. They're getting 6. That means they now need $5,500 per month. We know the Social Security isn't fully taxable as ordinary income. Only 85% of it is subject to income tax, and basically also we don't know if the Social Security credit is going to continue after the Trump administration. So let's assume that it isn't.
Right.
And they're not going to obviously not eligible in the next 3 years. So they're getting the Social Security benefit, which is cool.
That's about $61,000 of taxable income to them.
Right. So we've got to come up with a balance of approximately $69,000.
Right. To get to 130 again.
Right. Which is cool. So what we could do is we could certainly start again pulling the IRA, continue to pull money from the IRAs at a reduced level.
Right. They become IRAs now because we were able to move them from 401k into an IRA after they were over 59.5. So now they can freely pull at 62.
Making those distributions.
Right.
And we would certainly pull enough only so that they basically, again, hit that $96,000 threshold on a taxable basis, pull the balance from non-taxable assets. But I'm not touching that Roth.
And that really is about $2,000 a month that they could pull from their IRA accounts. Right. So now we built 6 plus 2. That gives us 8. We still need about 3. We need about 3.5 more.
Sure.
And that could come from the investment accounts, or we could and most likely we'll have probably done this, but like you mentioned, are we doing some tax harvesting? Or many people naturally have their dividends and interest reinvested. Maybe we are
setting it to cash
and seeing what yield we're getting from that without having to do any additional sales. However, making sales in after-tax accounts is usually tax preferred because you are only paying taxes on the gains versus paying taxes on 100% of what comes out of the IRA.
You know, and what we forgot to mention a little earlier was that Joe and Sally, they drive nice cars.
So they're going to need new ones?
Well, within 6 years, hello. That's why we're not touching that Roth until it comes time for new cars or the kitchen renovation or the big vacations with the kids and maybe parents.
Are Joe and Sally, do they not like payments?
No.
They're not a fan of the payments?
Absolutely not. They don't have a mortgage today.
Right.
They have a very nice lifestyle. And like any other thing, it's like, why should we have the obligation if we have the cash? The beauty is, I think at least, is that we have seen, at least in our experience, is that that's what people use their Roth IRAs for. It isn't for an income. It isn't to create an income stream. It's to deal with those big ticket items
without impacting our taxes.
So we're not making IRA distributions. That's right.
And I would only make mention, and I've had this conversation actually a couple of times now this week, which is just as we talked about with Joe and Sally making a great decision by not doing anything yet, and that really left all of their options open in terms of 401k distributions versus rolling it into an IRA and having to use 72T, like what was the better choice there. Seeing all your options first gives you the most choices. I would, when you are out car shopping, be willing to listen to the financing options, because in most situations, and you'll just want to confirm this, there are rarely early repayment penalties on auto loans at this point. And I have heard from a variety of our clients that the financing companies are offering discounts, so money off the car that you're purchasing, pretty low rates still if you take the financing. So why not take the financing for at least a couple of months so you get the benefit of whatever discount was provided? You're not going to pay that back in just a few months of interest. Then we can pay the car off. Maybe you're in a position where you don't have as large of a Roth account as Joe and Sally do, so you're going to have to try to break up over multiple tax years a full payment on a car. Maybe taking the financing to get us to the end of the year, if you're car shopping now, is a good decision because you got the discount from the financing company. You have a payment that maybe you're meeting on a monthly basis through IRA distributions. Take a chunk at the end of this year, take a chunk 3 days later at the beginning of 2026 if you really want to pay the car off right away. But there are still even if you don't have access to all the options Joe and Sally have access to, you may have access to some. There are options available to you.
That approach is something we certainly recommend to clients when it comes to other large purchases. But I was going to say one other conversation that I'd love, as you know, to have with our clients in regard to automobiles and their financing is, how many miles a year are you driving? It isn't unusual that one of the spouses is, we'll call it, the primary driver. They're the ones whose car is being used all the time. They're the one who's doing the primary driving. The other spouse,
enjoys being a passenger.
Well, not just that, but what happens is if they're not commuting to work each day, mm-hmm. they're obviously going other places. Are they going to be a high mileage driver? It isn't unusual at the same time to say, okay, great. So somebody is driving less than 12,000 miles a year. Instead of, and you don't want car payments, instead of buying the car, the piece of junk that's going to depreciate, why not lease it with one payment? Pay all 3 years, get a discount, do a one-pay lease. When you get to the end of the lease, if you love the car, you buy it. If you don't love the car, you throw them the keys, and you get another one.
If you do a one-pay lease, does that eliminate or at least substantially reduce the interest that is generally built into the monthly payments?
Absolutely. You're still going to be responsible for personal property taxes. They bill you once a year, but otherwise you don't have any payments.
Sure, but you would have to pay your personal property tax if you own the car outright or not. So, but they
bill you once a year.
But the one-pay lease reduces the interest component of
yes.
the leasing. So really all you've done is rented the car at very low cost for your term of the lease, but you did it in one payment. And then, like you said, Dad, you get to make the decision at the end. Do I buy it or do I just give it back?
Yeah, I do want to relate a little bit in regard to, I won't give all the financial details, but I had talked previously about how my lease was getting ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Be done. And I had a decision to make about, am I going to purchase this car or am I going to just throw the keys? What I have found, and I'm going to use the word foreign automobiles as compared to U.S. domestic U.S. automobile makers, the residual value, that is what they estimate the car is going to be worth 3 years after you take it out based on a certain number of miles that you're going to be driving, is always bigger.
On foreign-made cars?
Especially on the more luxury versions, than what's in your lease. So as an example, I leased a Lexus for $54,000. ES 350 midsize SUV. No, not a big deal. The residual, I could purchase the car at the end of 3 years for $30,000.
So $24,000 was what you used over the course of the 3 years. Okay.
Well, those were my payments.
And your residual was $30,000. Okay.
Well, right. They estimated the residual to be $30,000. When I took it in, they offered me $38,000.
So it was $8,000 more valuable than they originally estimated.
Exactly. So I could have had them cut me a check, but instead what I had them do was apply it against my next lease, which, by the way, was more expensive car because obviously car prices go up. I also got a hybrid, which was very cool. And our payments went down.
Because you had the $8,000 to put towards it.
Exactly. Of course, I never put any money down because who's going to put money down on
a lease?
Something that's going to depreciate like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out very well. But again, this wasn't unusual because I know that Lexus happens to be somebody that Toyota, they always underestimate the residuals. Which is advantageous to you.
And Rob, tell me, because I know that you are an avid reader of Consumer Reports, when they do their annual car review, do they include in that
depreciation?
Do they include what depreciation? So whose cars depreciate the most quickly?
Domestic manufacturers are, the bottom.
And Beamers.
But BMWs, I've heard that too.
The German luxury cars, they seem to lose about half their value within the first 4 years.
But my point was just that for those of us that, don't keep abreast of this information at the ready, there are places that you can go to look up this information before you start shopping. Consumer Reports is one of those places where they'll give you an idea of depreciation before you are going in to make your decision. Maybe you start focusing on cars that have high residual values, meaning low depreciation over time or less depreciation.
Well, sure.
Over
And
time.
again, the cool part is that if I'm going to be accessing my Roth as a source of funds, which again is a tax-free distribution, distribute less. Do a one pay. I've had several folks that have done that, which is kind of cool.
So we do have one question about this leasing.
And our texter writes, what about sales tax on leasing? You have to pay property tax on a lease every year.
Yes.
Oh, you also have to pay property tax on your car every year if you own it outright, so it doesn't really change much, right?
No, and you don't actually pay a big hunk of sales tax when you lease the car.
Oh, so you don't pay a big...
No.
Because you're not buying the full car, you're leasing it. So you pay sales tax on what you're leasing?
The rental version, right. And it's not a lump sum, it's a monthly thing. It's built in your lease payment.
Or it's a lump sum if you have a one-pay lease.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are going to pay you're going to pay taxes, but just on the portion that you are leasing, not on the full value of the car.
Correct.
And just like everything else, you're going to pay property taxes every year, no matter what.
Exactly, because that's Missouri.
Right. If you live in Illinois, I guess you don't have that obligation.
No.
I hear they have higher car insurance rates, though, so you save on one
gasoline prices, too.
Well, why don't we take our second break of the hour, and we've got another text question on deck when we get back.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these messages.
The views and opinions expressed in the preceding paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners.
I'm Teresa Metz, Executive Director of Fairmont on Clayton. We are a Montessori assisted living and memory care community designed specifically for seniors and residents with Alzheimer's disease. At Fairmont on Clayton, we identify activities that foster a sense of purpose and identity for each of our residents. The Montessori approach is a focus on life skills the residents can do instead of what they can't. We're located in the heart of Clayton. It's an amazing community, one I'm sure you and your loved one will embrace. They're Fairmont on Clayton, 314-646-7600, or online at fairmontclayton.com.
Look at our alums, the contributions that they have made throughout industries in the St. Louis region.
Terry Freerks, a graduate of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
UMSL is embedded in the fabric of the St. Louis community. We're hands-on, and when our students graduate, they are definitely career ready, but maybe more importantly, they're career confident.
More is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 9:50 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We have about 9 minutes left to answer your questions and your calls at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the always hot and heavy text line.
And our next texter writes, I am a frequent listener, and I don't recall any discussion about how funds under your management are invested. If with mutual funds, what type, and are there separate fees?
Well, the reason you never hear us discussing how we invest assets is because we can't. Unfortunately,
we can't say that we do invest client assets and that mutual funds happen to be an asset class that we also use, but not exclusively.
Exact. That I probably that's the most compliant way to say it, because unfortunately, although you are listening to us and we'd love to get to know you, we don't know you yet, so we can't discuss how.
You cannot utter the word of a particular fund, because
right.
what will then happen is you'll go out and buy it, or maybe you won't, but the SEC thinks you will. So
we don't want to put you in a position, and we certainly don't want to make recommendations to individuals that we aren't working with. But not just like, but anytime you are investing money with an advisor or without one, there generally are fees associated with your investments. That's something that you need to be aware of if you're investing on your own. If you're working with a professional like ourselves, because we work as fiduciaries, we do have the obligation to find the least expensive option available to you. But in most cases, even if you're not working with an advisor, investing is rarely free. So there's some charge associated. Either you are paying ticket charges to make transactions, or you are paying what are called 12B1 fees inside of your mutual funds if you happen to own those.
I could be a little more specific,
okay.
I think.
Go for it.
All of our clients are invested in what we call no transaction fee accounts, which means there are no ticket charges to buy or sell a security. If we're using mutual funds, they are either load waived or they are no load funds.
Which means you're not paying an upfront charge to invest your assets.
100% of your money is getting invested.
Right.
As financial advisors, we're licensed to charge fees. Mm-hmm. We charge 0.25% per quarter based on the assets that we have under our management. All of our clients pay the same fee.
And there are no additional a la carte fees with our practice.
There's only one. We don't have a fee, but our custodian does charge a $35 annual IRA fee, which they charge you so that they can report all your stuff to the Internal Revenue.
Right. So the custodian generates the 1099s, keeps track of distributions and taxes paid. So
and the reports.
And so for those services, there is an internal fee that's debited from the account.
But for our texter, if you would like to learn
more
of where your assets would be invested with us,
that's what a coaching session's for.
314-863-0008. You get to see Erin.
Yes, you do. And we even have Saturday appointments available. We'll be enjoying
going to one right after the show.
That's right, for those of our listeners that aren't fully retired yet.
Yes, and as much as we would like to discuss where we put money, I did give a call one time to our compliance department and said, can we talk about the S&P 500? A particular fund company that
offers a fund.
Offers it. And they said, yes, as long as you read the prospectus before the conversation.
That's like 20 pages.
Real small typing.
Yeah.
Real fun conversations to be had.
So,
5-syllable words.
So we've got to pass on that, but we certainly don't want to. And we also
it's not for lack of desire, but
absolutely.
We would put half the audience to sleep. 3/4 of them would be gone.
So we're still open to answer your calls as well as your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. We've got about 5 minutes left.
And our next texter writes, the market is making what seems to be new highs every other day.
Woohoo!
How worried are you about the economy potentially overheating, and is this an opportunity to rebalance the accounts?
Go, babe.
Me go?
Yeah, I'll
My
go
turn?
after you.
You'll go after me. Well, although I am generally glass half full and tend to be optimistic, I do want to be realistic in the sense that we've had a fantastic run over the last several months at post-April lows.
It seems like that the tariff volatility seems like a long time ago, but that was only 4 months ago.
I remember the sleepless nights of the tariff lows. I will say that there's always opportunity for pullback in the market. I think that over the next several months, we may see a pullback depending upon the Fed rate decisions. I don't think it's going to be, we're not prognosticators of the market, but we do have to be aware that there are going to be opportunities for pullbacks. I do think, one, it's always important to rebalance your portfolio on a more mechanical basis. We rebalance once a quarter. Sometimes we are rebalanced, like, for example, in April, we didn't actually have to rebalance. The market did it for us. But I think taking a mechanical approach takes the animal spirits out of your investing. It also tends to produce more consistent returns over time. It also takes the stress out of these decisions because you've already made decisions before anything happens, essentially in anticipation of those things happening, because we know we'll hit new highs. We also know we will see new lows again.
Well, new lows for the current time.
Well, that's what I don't mean new. We're not going back to 1921 or anything. I just meant we'll see pullbacks again.
I will tell you that I am slightly more optimistic.
You're like glass overflowing.
Yes.
Which is always a good thing to be.
There's two things that we know for certain. The markets are going to open up on Monday.
That is true.
They could go up. They could go down.
There are two choices.
If there is we'll call it a pullback,
mm-hmm.
an extended pullback, a recession, these tend to only go for they're never
protracted.
more than 9 months. They're never more than 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
We shut the economy down 4 years ago, and we're already at new highs. Literally shut the economy down. Never happened in history. We also have a president that I happen to have a lot of confidence in, who's a business guy. I'm not going to let that happen again. So I'm encouraged. I don't think interest rates are going down. I think the economy's rocking and rolling, and I am. Woo!
So you think that all right, so you think that interest rates are going to hold because the economy is still, we saw excellent.
Absolutely.
We're kind of in the middle of earnings season right now, getting towards the end.
I'm not hearing about layoffs, or I should say, my barometer, as I like to tell our clients, are what I call the three wise men.
Mm-hmm.
The sewer guy, the asphalt guy, and the cement guy. And I always ask them about their backlogs. And their backlogs are full.
So that means there's still got people on the books that need construction work done.
And those are usually the first people that will.
That's an easy thing to cut from the budget.
Well, it's leading indicators, right?
Right.
So they're good. We're good. And
I mean, I will say I haven't heard about layoffs, but I've definitely heard about some immobility in jobs. They're more difficult to find now, less incentives to make changes, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because that could start to mean that you'll see pay raises as somebody that's elected to stay in their position. Whereas in order to see pay raises over the last several years, we really had to jump jobs because employers were looking for employees and really incentivizing.
All this goes through phases.
Sure.
And I think that right now we're in a positive phase. We have AI that's broken out. We're in the technology revolution, and guess what? It's not going to stop. So we could have temporary pullbacks. We saw one in April. It was ugly. But we recovered and we're at new highs.
That's right.
I think what April teaches us is it's never as bad as, you might think it is. Right. but when you're going through it, it isn't pleasant. But on the other side of it, it's never as good as the frothy returns
so don't touch
might
that
indicate.
dial, because we'll be back for next hour Straight Talk after these messages.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2 of Street Talk on Retirement. And as our frequent listeners know, we always kick off our second hour with a conversation about health care.
Because you care, we talk Medicare.
And because you care, we brought Frank.
Hello.
Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Thank
I love
you for joining us this morning, Frank.
Yeah, I love the because you care, we talk Medicare.
That's right.
How'd you say that?
Yeah, just like that.
All right.
Because you care, we talk Medicare. That's
All right.
been my little catchphrase for, I guess, since I started on the radio.
I like that. I'm going to have to use that.
And we are, rapidly approaching open enrollment time. I cannot believe how quickly it feels like it's come this year.
It happens every year. You go through open enrollment and you get through the chaos of seeing 6, 7, 8 people a day during open enrollment, and then for the next 9 months, you're kind of wondering, what the landscape is going to look like. And then by the time Medicare, they bring out their rules for 2026 and all the plans and all the new stuff, it's here.
Right. You feel like you're in the chute, like getting ready the roller coaster's ready to take off. And then as soon as October 1st rolls around, we actually get to discuss with all of you what it's going to look like in 2026.
That is so fun. And I actually saw that you sent an email yesterday about a webinar we're going to be having before open enrollment.
That's right. So every year for the last few, we've been hosting a 2-part series that happens right before open enrollment and right at the beginning of open enrollment. We're going to have a September 18th webinar, and it's going to be really like a open enrollment prep. So we're not going to be able to talk plans, we're not going to be able to talk benefits, but what we can discuss, and Frank's going to spend some time with everybody that wants to join that webinar, talking about how you can prepare to either chat with Frank or figure out that you might not need a chat with Frank.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for some additional communication about signing up for our September 18th webinar. If it's already top of mind to you and you want to get on the list, just log on to the website, jblfinancial.com, click Contact Us. Let us know you want to be in on Frank's webinar or the Medicare webinar. Just mention Medicare in the webinar and we'll know. We'll add your email to the list and you'll be on the first to get one of those invites. If you don't get to it, don't worry, because we'll repeat it a few more times before we get to September 18th.
This is always a very good webinar before open enrollment, before you actually get to hear about the exact changes of the plans. This is going to give you an idea, like Erin said, of if you'll even need to see me, because by then, by September 18th, we should have most of the information for 2026, if not all of the information.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, since we can't discuss next year yet, I know you had a really interesting conversation with a client, really a longer time client, Lynn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Awesome.
Lynn has been a client of ours nearly for a decade.
Wow.
So 9 years, in fact, and recently there have been some changes to her nearly perfect health. Over the last 9 years, Lynn has really not had to use her Medicare Advantage plan much. Really, she's only used it for things like checkups and preventatives. She goes and gets her checkups and preventatives every year, and that's really as far as she's extended her healthcare plan. Now, besides the extra benefits of the plan, of course, she
Sure.
definitely uses all the extra benefits. So I'm talking the dental, the vision, the hearing. she utilizes the gym with silver sneakers as well, and then the over-the-counter benefits. But when it comes to the actual healthcare package of her plan, she has hardly ever had to step into that door.
So it sounds like probably she hasn't spent $0 for 9 years, but it's certainly a pretty insignificant amount of money towards her health care expenses, so very few copays, because really those primary care visit copays, they were in existence 9 years ago, but over the last few years, many of the plans have dropped to $0 with a primary care visit, and then all those preventatives are generally covered at no extra charge, so we could be talking less than $100 a year.
Oh yeah. Maybe a couple of specialists just for, additional checkups or things like that.
Like a dermatologist or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So maybe a $30, $40 copay here or there a couple of times a year. But in terms of using it for something like, outpatient hospital.
Or knee replacement.
Yes. In terms of using it for something major, this is brand new to her.
Okay.
So recently she was diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh, goodness.
And so her fear was that, for the last 2 to 3 years, she's always heard, her plan has been great for her. She'd be a testament to everyone saying, my Advantage plan worked great for me the way that I used it. So she always heard in the background of Medicare Advantage that you didn't want a Medicare Advantage plan if you had something major medically. So she wanted to know if she could get out of that plan, maybe switch to like a Medicare supplement, or if that was just too late at this point with her being diagnosed with leukemia. She wanted to know if she was going to get dropped out of her Medicare Advantage plan, and she also wanted to know if she made a mistake taking Medicare Advantage.
Wow. Okay, so which of these questions you want to tackle first?
Well, what I would like to do is just kind of, let me backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
So when we're talking about these Medicare Advantage plans, and we're talking about things like leukemia, cancers, surgeries, things like that, when you use your plan, when you use your Medicare Advantage plan, okay, you're going to make a copay for certain things. Excuse me. And so Lynn's kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to need chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is going to be $80,000, and I'm going to have to pay a copay of $80,000 for this chemotherapy.
Gosh.
So that's her that's her mindset going into this.
Okay.
Because we know that things can be expensive. We know that certain medications can be expensive. We know that certain
procedures, tests.
If you're spending 8 days in the hospital, that's probably going to be a little bit more of an expensive bill than if you were just to have an overnight stay at the hospital.
Sure.
And so all of this is going through Lynn's head, understandably so.
Not to mention she was just diagnosed with cancer, so.
Correct. So rightfully so, she does have the right to kind of be apprehensive about the plan.
Sure.
And so, excuse me, got a bubble in my throat this morning.
Take a deep breath. So basically, okay, Frank, so tell us kind of the way that you tackled this conversation with Lynn.
So when it comes to the first and foremost, the most important thing for me is to give Lynn some sort of security that you are going to be covered. Your plan, just because you have something major medical, is not just going to up and leave and run away from you. They're not going to kick you off of the plan, and you're not going to get billed an $80,000 bill that you're going to have to pay.
Right, so let's just be super clear. Because you've been diagnosed with something, or because maybe you came onto the plan and you already had something going on, your insurance provider cannot drop you.
Mm-hmm.
They also can't refuse to renew you if Lynn hears what Frank has to say and decides she wants to stay with the plan she has not only this year but next year too. Medical is never a reason why your plan can leave you. The only reasons that can happen is if you don't pay your premium. So you don't pay your Medicare Part B premium. If your plan has a premium associated with it, Lynn's doesn't happen to have one, but if she didn't pay that premium, that's a reason to drop you. If you leave the service area and you're no longer eligible, they can drop you.
If they leave the service area.
That's a good
correct
point.
Too. Mm-hmm.
And also, plans can't leave the service area mid-year, so you can't lose your plan halfway through the year. That usually happens right around open enrollment, we'll find out if plans have left certain service areas. Usually that's on a county basis, so we'll find that out based on your zip code. Those are generally the only ways that you're going to lose coverage.
That is correct. And generally in all of those situations, you are going to have a special enrollment to select any plan that you want to from there.
And you're going to be notified if you haven't paid your premium with plenty of time to go back and pay the premium. So you can either be reinstated or you just, oops, we missed one. Now we were caught up. Nothing actually happened except for you got the nasty letter in the mail.
That is correct.
All right.
So Lynn, okay, one thing with her is that, especially like with cancer patients, you know, you got chemotherapy, other treatments, radiation, whatever.
Could be surgeries.
Could be
like
surgeries, yeah. And so for her, with chemotherapy, okay, she's thinking again that she's going to get some sort of bill for like $80,000. So the way that her plan works, as I described to her, is that in Medicare you have these things. Not every medication is going to be considered under pharmacy. Okay.
How do they make that distinction?
So the way that it's made is you have two different sort of distinctions. You have what we call our Part B medications.
Okay.
And I'll explain what that is. And then you have what is your Part D medications. D for drugs. D for your prescription drug plan.
Right.
Okay. So your Part B medications, these are medications that are done in a hospital setting or a doctor's office setting, maybe an infusion center, but these are prescription drugs that are hospital related, usually administered by a doctor of some sort or some sort of specialist. These are not, Part B drugs are not drugs that you pick up from the pharmacy directly.
So that means they fall under the medical portion of your plan versus the prescription portion of your plan.
Very good. Very good. That is well said. So these are going to be considered medical. So anytime you pay for a Part B administered prescription drug or administered drug, it's not a prescription since you're not getting it from a pharmacy, then whatever you pay is going to go towards that maximum out of pocket on your Medicare Advantage plan. And that is absolutely great. Again, because things like chemo and radiation can be very expensive.
Certainly. So you are going to pay whatever your particular plan lists as either an outpatient procedure or specific to whatever you're doing, correct?
That is correct.
And then once you maybe hit that max out of pocket, you're done paying for the rest of the year.
Then you are done. That is correct. Now, Part B drugs, how they're covered under Medicare is the plan will usually pick up 80%, and then that would leave the Medicare participant to pay 20%. And that 20%, whatever is billed, whatever 20% is billed is going to go right towards your maximum out of pocket.
So for everyone at home, if you were doing the math, if it's $80,000 for Lynn's treatment, 20% is $16,000, but Lynn doesn't pay $16,000.
That is correct.
Lynn
She'd
pays
be capped off at her maximum out of pocket.
So
whatever her maximum out of pocket is on your specific plan, I know some plans, have $2,500. In this case, Lynn had a $3,900 max out of pocket PPO Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, so if she did, how much was that number? $16,000.
$12,000 is the 20% of $80,000.
Okay, so if she did if she did get billed, she'd only have to pay up to that $3,900. She would not have to pay $12,000, of course.
She'd pay a fourth almost, or a third, essentially, of the bill.
That is correct. Now, okay, so we're going to have two max out-of-pockets. You got two different max out-of-pockets. You have one max out-of-pocket under the health side of your plan, and that's going to be considered anything that you do medically. So that's her, that's her hospital stays. That's her blood draw that they have to do. That's her chemotherapy. Anything medical is going to go towards that $3,900.
And so it sounds like even before Lynn starts chemotherapy, she obviously had doctor's visits. She's had tests. She's had labs. She's had multiple visits to the doctor. She's already spent money this year. So you can think of this as one of two ways. You can think of it as filling up a bucket that has $3,900 at the top, or you can think of it as pouring it out one way or the other. Lynn's dumping water into her bucket every time she goes to the doctor, every time she had a test or a lab. and when it gets to $3,900, she's done. So in this example, if she's already spent $900 before she even gets to chemo, she's got $3,000 left to go to pay for that chemo, and that's probably not the last thing Lynn does this year or even into next year. It'll be capped again. She won't pay for any of those extra services.
That is correct, and that's a great thing about the plan too. I think the caps are very important, especially for things like this with these high health needs. So
we got max number 2.
So we got max number 2, which are your Part D drugs. These are pharmacy drugs. So Lynn may end up taking a pill, and that was one of her concerns. Is a lot of these pills aren't covered under Medicare when it comes to your specialty sort of pills for these leukemia diagnosis. So your max out of pocket, we've talked about this before several times, your max out of pocket under your pharmacy is set across the table $2,000 for everyone.
So it doesn't matter what plan you're on. $2,000 max. But you got to be on a plan.
But you do have to be on a plan.
And the drugs have to be on the formulary.
Very good. Bingo. The drugs have to be on the formulary. So that just means that the insurance company has to have the drug listed as one of their tiers, tier 1 through 5. And if that's the case, then whatever you pay will go towards that $2,000 cap. So you could be on a experimental chemotherapy oral medication for $100,000, and you're just going to be capped off at $2,000 if it's on their formulary. If it's not on their formulary, okay, because Lynn is actually looking at a specific medication called Busuflan.
Okay.
And this is just an oral medication, chemotherapy oral medication, not covered under Medicare. Now, what Lynn can do is she can try, because she's already on the plan for this year, okay? So she can try, and if I find out during open enrollment that the prescription is not covered again, and we just decide to keep Lynn in her same plan, she can try to get an exception for that prescription drug, in which, with her diagnosis, that should not be an issue. I can't really see an insurance company denying with her diagnosis. Yeah, exactly.
So there are a few ways to get exceptions. The first one is a formulary exception. That's what we're talking about for Lynn, where their medication is not listed on the formulary. Most likely, a lot of the newer chemo medications that are orally based, they're probably not on any formulary. You have to do the legwork, or you work with someone like Frank to help you do the legwork to get a formulary exception, adding that medication that is not on the formulary onto the formulary, which would then cap her at that $2,000.
That's right.
And then Frank will do the work of saying, all right, we're in open enrollment now. Let's see if this medication is covered by anyone. If it's covered by no one, then we're going to be in the same place regardless of where Lynn ends up, of which plan she decides to elect. We'll have to submit another formulary exception for her
for
the beginning of the year to get it recovered.
That is correct. You do have to renew those and resubmit. I should say you do have to resubmit those exceptions every single year. So now the big question becomes, did Lynn make a mistake? Okay.
9 years ago?
Yes. So 9 years ago, looking back, did Lynn make a mistake by choosing a Medicare Advantage plan? Absolutely not. And I can't say this enough times. I do understand, in the world of insurance, not every plan is going to be, it's not a one-stop or one-shop fits all.
Sure.
Okay. There's going to be different situations. Some people are going to have to take Advantage. Some are going to have to take Medicare supplements. But in Lynn's case, this is exactly why these plans were designed. She went 9 years, virtually a decade, without having to use her plan for anything major. She got to utilize all of the extra benefits on the plan. She's got perfect teeth. So for the last 9 years, she's just basically been using her plan as a dental plan and as an over-the-counter plan.
And as a free gym membership.
Absolutely. 10 years of free gym membership. This is absolutely excellent. This is exactly why these plans were designed. Now, if we think about it, because I like to think about these kind of things, this is what I like to do. So if we think about it, Lynn, she has a max out of pocket of $3,900 that she has not even came close to reaching over the last 9 years. She might hit it this year 10, and that's that's fine.
Sure.
The average is 1 out of 7. She's beating the average 1 out of 10.
Right.
And so when I was sitting there thinking about it, and when she asked me, did I make a mistake by taking the plan, I just kind of wanted to do the math for her. And she has a $3,900 max out of pocket.
Okay.
And I thought in my head, what other plan in the last 9 years can you have only just spent $3,900 on medically, and that's it? What other plan in 9 years could you spend $3,900 on? And when I was doing the math, it came out to me that she would have had to have a plan for $37 a month if she would have had a Medicare supplement plan for $37 a month. That would get her to
the
$3,900 over the last 9 years.
Are there any plans?
There's not a single plan out there.
Even if you took a supplement that had the absolute least benefits available, still.
So if you took a supplement like there's two options out there.
Okay.
There's a high deductible plan G. That's a Medicare supplement, and it's essentially a plan G with a very low monthly cost, probably around $50, $60, $70 a month, just depending on what area you live. But the deductible, and you just pay that like you do a Medicare Advantage plan. So you're just making co-pays and you're reaching a deductible. And I think you may want to look this one up. I think the deductible may be around $2,000 to $3,000 on that one. On the high deductible plan G. And then the second option was a high deductible plan F, but we all know the plan F got discontinued back in January 2020. So if you did not have a plan F before then you just wouldn't qualify for that.
Okay.
But that's going to be about $80, $90 to $100 a month.
Okay, so the high deductible plan G for 2025, the deductible was $2,870.
$2,870. Okay.
So, but the you said the premium for that's about $70 a month.
Let's just say let's just go back to like 2018. Let's just say she was paying $50 a month for that plan. Okay,
so $50 a month over 12 months over 9 years. Still would have been $5,400.
$5,400. She still would have been over her $3,900. There is no plan out there where you're going to spend $3,900 in 9 years.
I was also going to say I love this version, this way that you're doing the math. The other way I like to do the math is, let's just say Lynn picked a plan G, not the high deductible. She went plan G. Maybe it's like $150 a month. We go all the way back to 2018, like you said. $150 a month over 12 months over 9 years is $16,200.
That is so much compared to $3,900 over.
Right.
Was that 9 years?
Yep.
Okay.
So if I subtract the $3,900 from the $16,200 that she would have paid, so if I take the premium she would have paid, subtract out what she's going to pay now, that means Lynn still saved over 9 years $12,000
easily.
And that also means, because I know many people are thinking this right now, unfortunately, you don't get cancer diagnosis on January 1st and you're all wrapped up with treatment December 31st, all tightly wound into 1 year, one max out of pocket. Well, even if Lynn has to have another year where maybe she hits her maximum out of pocket because she's not done with treatment, or she needs she needs ongoing scans that might have costs, she could spend another $3,900 next year and still have saved $8,400 over the last 11 years.
I was going to say, you guys are really making a great case, and even with these price points that you're using, kind of, $100, $70, $50 premiums. I haven't seen any supplement premiums that are less than like $185.
Yeah,
right. We're lowballing it a little bit,
and you're still coming out like a country mile ahead. So it just goes to show that when you really dig down into the numbers, Medicare Advantage plans, if you're not hitting your max out of pocket every year, which statistically you only do every 7 years, you come out ahead.
So two things.
Sure.
How much time do we have?
Keep going.
Okay. So two things. Number one is, let's go back to your math here.
Okay.
So using your math, how many years would she be able to hit her max out of pocket? 16,000.
So
and she's got a 3,900 max out of pocket.
It's like 4 years.
Yeah,
so
it's at
4
least 4
years. And the statistic, the average is 1 out of 7.
So that means 21 years on Medicare. No, I'm sorry, 28 years on Medicare Advantage, hitting your max one time every 7 years, and you'll hit that 16,600.
So she would have had to hit her max out of pocket 4 years just to, if you want to just say, break even on a Medicare Advantage plan.
And this doesn't even factor in all the money she's saving on the dental and all those other pieces over time.
That's right.
So I think that's a really great point. And it's just, and that's, I used to talk a lot before Frank, you took over, when I was chatting with people about Medicare, is that of course, you're thinking about your health on an annual basis. What's going on now? What happened last year? What do I remember that was terrible? Like each year, I'm thinking about it in this silo. But in reality, Frank is thinking about your health over 20 years, over 30 years, because at 65, you very likely could be on Medicare for 30 years. So if we're thinking about it over a 20 and 30-year period, how often are you going to hit your maximum out of pocket? And when have you ever been able to say that you have full coverage available to you, but you only pay for it when you use it? Lynn's a prime example of this right now. She's had full coverage from the day she started Medicare and signed up with this Medicare Advantage plan. She's had access to everything she's going to have to utilize now. She just didn't utilize it for 9 years. And now she gets to say, insurance company, it's time. I need help. Now it's time. I'm going to utilize my plan. And she gets to keep the protection of her maximum amount of pocket. She's protected by the plan. They can't kick her off because she's been diagnosed with something. And Frank, we've got a couple of text questions, but I don't want to cut you off if you have anything else you want to add on there.
There was a second point that I was going to make, but I think we're past that point right now.
All right.
I might come back to it. Let's get into the questions.
Did Lynn feel better about when you showed her the math and how that added up, and when you showed her how much money she'd saved over 10 years of not hitting that max out of pocket? She had to feel better about that Medicare Advantage decision.
That's right, Rob. That's right. So she, not only did she feel a little bit better about it, but she was actually happy, because when we did the math and we looked at it, I just kept saying to her, Lynn, you would have had to be on a plan for $37. There's no plan out there in the world for $37. And once she understood that, then she was just like, okay, well, let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes hitting their max out of pocket, but
That's
when
right.
you've been saving that for 9 years, it makes it a little bit more easy to stomach.
That's right.
So our first text is, are most exceptions in the medication successful? So when you've worked with people in doing formulary exceptions in cases like Lynn's, where it's medically necessary, are you seeing denials?
So when it's medically necessary, typically not.
Okay.
Typically that goes through just fine. You're going to get some where the insurance company is requesting maybe you try a different medication.
Sure.
So some sort of alternative.
But generally, this is pretty targeted.
For the most part, if it's medically necessary and the doctor does a decent job of explaining, hey, this is the only option that we have. We've tried other medications; they don't work, or maybe there were some side effects to another medication.
Sure.
Then these are going to go.
I have seen denials, but the denials usually come because it's not covered under Medicare. So, like, for example, I think this happens a lot on the dermatological side of things. So when you're working with a dermatologist, if they recommend a certain cream or a certain medication, it might not be covered under Medicare, some steroids in certain examples, not covered under Medicare. If it's not covered under Medicare, it's not a Medicare Advantage issue. Why they're not covering it. If you have a standalone prescription drug plan, so you have a supplement and a prescription drug plan that you've pieced together, you could still experience these same denials. And if it's not covered under Medicare, you're going to be denied there too. So all the rules kind of emanate from Medicare. The insurance companies have to follow them. But like Frank mentioned, when you have something that's medically necessary and the physician writes, and that's a part of this process, which we work with Frank to just submit a formulary exception. The physician fills it out, puts your medical record with it, sends it off to the insurance company, and then they make the determination. When the doctor does a good job of providing your information, which of course they will because they want you to have the medication they prescribe to you, rarely do we see these denials.
And it's always just a good idea to just kind of go for it if that's, something that you're concerned about. Just call me. Just give me a call. We can make it a lot easier for you.
Perfect.
But, yeah, just go for it.
Okay, our next question. Your plan, but the plan could deny coverage. So should you consider each plan's denial history for like leukemia-related issues or other specialty treatments before you decide which Medicare Advantage plan you're going to select?
Yeah, I take some of that stuff into consideration.
Okay.
Of course, some insurance companies may have a higher denial rate than other insurance companies. In one case, I mean, we saw United Healthcare. It's out there. They have the most denials, but they also have the most people. So it kind of makes sense to me why you have the most denials. You got
I think
the most
that's a great
people,
point that you make, which is that unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you've got a lot. When you have a very large insurer, if we're looking at just the numbers, we're not looking at statistical percentages like per capita denial, and that's how they report the numbers is just on a strict numbers basis. You have more people, you have more denials.
That's right.
The last thing in this is a comment, and I think it's a great one. I think it's worth mentioning that living in the metro area currently makes these Advantage plans extremely attractive in regards to networks and benefits compared to other cities.
Oh, big time. So St. Louis has one of the best markets out there in the Medicare Advantage world. We are, bar none, probably top 5. And all of the hospital systems belong to these networks. And so St. Louis area is absolutely great. But we also have to keep in mind that these insurance companies, they're so large everywhere now to where you have these national networks. So not only is St. Louis great, but you can travel with your St. Louis plan and still use a doctor in Texas or a doctor in Virginia or wherever you go. So I think that's absolutely great about them.
I think we hit the, St. Louis, the metro area, because if you live in Illinois, just on the other side of the river, you have access to very similar plans. We're in the sweet spot where we have quite a few hospital systems in the area. So we have a high concentration of insurance companies working in the area. We also have a lower cost of living than the coasts. So we have low max out-of-pockets plus very large networks available to us, which combines to, just like our texter said, excellent plans.
Yeah. Do we have to go? There was something I was going to mention really quick. When we talked about Medicare supplement plans, you know who has really good prices? Illinois.
Yeah,
Illinois
they have fantastic pricing.
Crazy inexpensive prices. I priced a lady on her Plan G this week, and I just typed in St. Louis zip code, and our price came up. And I looked at her questionnaire, and I was like, oh, you got a Illinois zip code. Let me change that. And looked at Illinois. You would not believe the difference.
I think it was like 20% or something.
Her plan in was $79.
Wow.
And her Plan G was like the Plan G was like $130.
That's incredible.
Compared to St. Louis, which would have been like $170.
Before we take our break, we do have our favorite, Judy, from the other side of the river.
From Illinois?
Judy from Illinois.
Larkin?
You can't say her name on the radio.
Oh, my goodness.
No, you
I made that up. That's a fake last name.
Hey, well, at least he knows exactly who you are, Judy.
Oh,
hello.
That's funny. Hello. So I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was telling her that I'm going for some PT, and I asked the company to pre-cert it for me, and she said, "Does it have to be pre-certed?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I want to make sure they're going to pay for it." So, you know what plan we're on?
The Cigna, yep. Mm-hmm.
Do those need to be pre-certed?
So a pre-cert, and say that again, Judy. So what was it a pre-cert for?
Pay for it.
Well, what was the...
You still pay for it. Oh, it's for physical therapy.
Oh, okay. And Cigna told you they would pay for it?
Or she wants to know do you have to get a pre-certification from Cigna to do...
Yeah.
I think you do for physical therapy.
Usually you need a doctor's note why you need the physical therapy. However, see, now I'm just going to reveal more about you, Judy. Judy was in the healthcare field, before she took her glorious retirement. So she's kind of up on all the lingo. You, as the enrollee in the plan and as the patient, you don't have to request the pre-certification. The doctor's office is supposed to do that on your behalf before you have to worry about that.
That's right.
Well, evidently it wasn't done.
Judy's on top of it.
Yeah, so they sent me their forms. I sent them my information, and, they should let me know by Monday. But
very good.
Yeah, because she said she didn't think so. And, we now have Deaconess Hospital in our area, Frank. Do you have any hints whether they're going to be covered by Cigna?
So what's the name of the hospital?
Deaconess.
Deaconess, okay. Yeah, I can look that one up, Judy, for you. I would not know off of the top of my head, but I do believe you got the Cigna PPO plan, so you'll be fine with that Cigna PPO.
It's not covered now. It's out of pocket now, or out of network now.
Out of network, correct. Yeah. But they're not going to deny you from going there. But yeah, I'll check to see if they're going to be in Cigna network. Deacon Hospital.
Yeah, Deaconess
Hospital.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. Now Judy's a prime example of going from traditional Medicare and for several years, and then taking that step and trying the Advantage plan. So this is her and Tom's first year on the Medicare Advantage plan. So can you kind of give me a 30-second rundown of how that's been for you, Judy?
Good so far. I mean, Tom's saved thousands of dollars.
Very good.
And I've saved on medicine.
Yeah.
A lot.
Judy had a lot of medication. Well, not a lot, but she had like some expensive meds, and they weren't really being covered that well under traditional Medicare. We've talked about that on this show before, and just we were able to. And the thing about her area in Illinois, they don't have like the Aetna plan or like the United plan. Mm-hmm. That's why we had to get her with Cigna, because we're very limited in that certain area of Illinois. But hopefully they get some more plans this year.
Yeah, but even with the limitations, it sounds like it's working out.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you for your call, Judy. We appreciate it as always. Thanks for being here, Frank. We appreciate that as always. And we're going to have to take our first break of this hour. But when we get back, we'll answer more of your calls and questions. So don't touch that dial.
Congratulations to John Beal Roofing. Want to give them a shout-out. They've been a sponsor of the show through thick and through thin for coming up on 20 years, and their message has remained the same all these 20 years. Make sure you call someone local. With all the storms that have been in the area over the last couple of months, it's been busy, and a lot of out-of-towners are coming in. They sure are nice, but you know what? They'll take half your money, and you never see them again. Somebody from the insurance industry told me, make sure you call local. I told them I was well-schooled. John Beal Roofing will guarantee you the best price. They'll work with your insurance company and make sure you get the claim you deserve to fix it and fix it right. Roofing, siding, gutters, all storm damage, John Beal Roofing will take care of it. Keep it local and keep it John Beal. Keep it in the family for 20-plus years. John Beal Roofing, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Or johnbillroofing.com.
Make a splash this summer with Dogtown Pizza. The weather and the pizza ovens are heating up, so stock up on 12 different flavors of your favorite Dogtown. Why cook hamburgers on the grill when you can get a hamburger pizza? Hot chicken, the SOB and for me, and from the garden, tomato, basil, garlic, and the veggie. Make your next pool party a pizza party with 12 different flavors of Dogtown. One for every swimmer in your house. Make it a Dogtown summer at every local grocery store and dogtownpizza.com.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, it's 10:46 here on the Big 550. Big healthcare segment.
You know, it was just a great one today, I thought.
It was just fun, and, it was really nice to hear from one of our clients, Judy.
As always. We won't say her last name again. Frank.
That was great.
That was almost like at the time, Erin's first show, she gave her home telephone number out. That was a good one.
Yes, I did indeed give my cell phone number out.
Exactly.
But that was a long time ago.
Were they calling?
I did get a couple of phone calls.
Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And our next texter writes, Frank did a great job explaining Part B, hospital-provided drugs, and Part D, pharmacy drugs. Do I have that right? I think I have heard that before, but it helps to have a refresher.
That is 100% correct. Drugs administered in a physician's office, in an outpatient office, are considered medical, so they are under the they are under the hospital portion of your benefits. That would be Part B. Prescriptions that you take at home that are delivered to your house, you pick up at the pharmacy, those are under your Part D. They are prescriptions. So if you have injections done at the hospital for any number of reasons, even if it's allergies, things like that, that's going to be under the medical, versus when you take it home, that's a prescription.
Cool.
And our next texter writes, can I leave a portion of my 401k in an old employer's plan and roll the remaining amount to an IRA?
No.
A partial rollover?
I don't think that you can. I don't believe the plan administrator would probably permit that, especially as an ex-participant. But the truth is, why would you leave it?
Right. If you're going to roll a portion, why not roll the whole thing? I think the minimum where they force you out is $5,000, right?
Right. You have to have at least a balance of under $5,000 for them to forcibly ask you to take your dough.
Well, say using our Rockstar segment as an example, could those younger rock stars could they roll a portion of that over to, say, a 72T IRA and then leave the remaining portion there?
Well, you could do it. I would say that, so like with our first, when we were talking about people that are under 59 and a half that want to take money from their retirement accounts, you could do a partial rollover. I wouldn't initiate a 72T with it because that's why you left some of the money in the 401k was to use the 55 and over rule.
And we've done that before.
And we have, where it's like you want it to grow, or you want access to other funds that you didn't have access to in your 401k, or you want access to other products. you do a partial rollover, leaving enough in that 401k plan so that you can make your distributions. I would highly recommend that you work with a professional when making those decisions, because like we talked about, once you do the rollover, you've shut some doors as to what your options are. So you want to make sure you're doing the math the right way to leave enough available to you.
I'd also say that if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you use a professional who should be able to help you synergize not only what you're purchasing in your new IRA, but also with the current 401. Exactly.
Oh, that'd be a hell of a thing where you create an IRA and then you're duplicating exactly what you had in your 401k. And our next texter writes, are the Medicare drug rules the same for an Advantage plan versus a supplement plan?
Yes. Medicare. So each plan has the right to cover the prescriptions that they have elected to cover on their formulary, to set the tiers, set the pricing on the tiers as long as it follows Medicare's rules and regulations. They have to provide at least 2 equivalents in each therapeutic category for you. Those are some rules around some of the many rules around what insurance companies are able to do, but all of the basic rules about how drugs are covered under Part B or under Part D, formulary exceptions, tier exceptions, all of those rules emanate directly from Medicare, so they do, in fact, have to follow them regardless of if you are using a Medicare Advantage plan that has a built-in pharmacy prescription drug component, or if you're using a standalone prescription drug plan to access your coverage.
And our last texter writes, please explain the Social Security spousal boost.
So the spousal benefit under Social Security, the straight spousal benefit means your spouse is alive or you were married to your spouse formerly for at least 10 years before a divorce and they are alive. It's 50% of their benefit. However, that benefit is tied to the individual who is electing their age. So if you are attempting to elect the spousal benefit, but you are under full retirement age, you are going to have the same 8% discount on that 50% per year that you would have if you were electing your own benefit. If you wait, you get the same increases that you would get on that benefit. So I believe that's what the spousal boost is referring to, or if the texter, if you want to give us a little bit more clarity, just because spousal boost isn't a technical term, so I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for, but I feel like that might be right. Why don't we take our second break of this hour quickly? We've got a few more text questions on deck.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these brief messages.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, listen closely as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. What is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
And what are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call Comprehensive Integrated Healthcare today for a nerve damage screening. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe that nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Simply call 636-241-9370. Act now. Call 636-241-9370. Be among the first 10 callers and get this important screening for free. 636-241-9370.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Cancer, We need a cure.
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 That's why the St. Louis Men's Group Against Cancer and the Big 550 KTRS are teaming up to help fight cancer with the 15th annual KTRS Radiothon. Thursday, August 21st, all day long, we'll be helping raise funds to find a cure and help treat cancer victims and their families. All money raised stays right here in St. Louis. You can help right now and be entered for a chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime Masters golf experience. Go to KTRS.com and look for the KTRS Radiothon banner for details. With a $200 donation, you'll receive 3 entries in the drawing for a chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2026 Masters last day on a private jet. Trip includes round-trip flight, transportation to and from Augusta National, tickets to the prestigious Masters with food and beverages included. Plus, you'll also receive 4 St. Louis Cardinals tickets to the September 16th game versus the Cincinnati Reds, 2 tickets to a Blues preseason game, and 2 tickets to City 2's game at Energizer Park on September 12th. And all for your $200 tax-deductible donation to the St. Louis Men's Group Against Cancer KTRS Radiothon. The 15th annual KTRS Radiothon is a service of the Big 550 KTRS Cares and presented by
First Community Credit Union, Royal Banks of Missouri, Allen Roofing, Schnarr's Hardware, WS Window and Door, the St. Louis Blues, Missouri Furnace and Air, and St. Louis City SC.
The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, we're back for our last segment of the show. It's 10:55 here on the Big 550. We're here to answer your questions and calls quickly. 314-931-5877 or 412 on the text line.
And we just had one comment come through the text line. If you have not, our texter writes, if you have not tried Amazon's pharmacy, you are missing out. I have been using them for a while now, and I am very impressed with the Amazon pharmacy performance. Good to know.
It's great to know. We always love some tips and tricks from people that are actually utilizing the plans.
That's one of the drawbacks of not being able to be enrolled in Medicare because we're youngsters. We don't get a chance to kind of try out the plans and tell the...
If you're not taking drugs, Robert, it's okay.
Also fair. So, I thought we should wrap up today's show with a little story. It's a Roth conversion story. Some newer clients of ours, Sharon and Kevin, they're both approaching required minimum distribution age. They're not quite there yet, but they heard some kind of incorrect information about Roth conversion, which we got cleared up for them. But once we had that conversation, I said, why don't you send over your tax return? Let's see from last year. Let's see if we've got any room to potentially do this for you. And, obviously I was the one doing the math because Dad was vehemently opposed from the start. So Sharon let me know that they had about $88,800 in taxable income last year before deductions. So I said, we're going to assume everything's the same for the moment. We're going to do an $88,800 of income less the standard deduction for 25, which is $31,500, less the $12,000 deduction for the big beautiful Bill senior deduction because they have less than 150 of income. They're both over 65. So that's going to bring their taxable income this year to $45,300. The federal tax bracket tops out at $9,609. So $96,900 rather. So I said, let's take $96,900 less the $45,300. We get $51,600 available to them in the 12% tax bracket to do a potential conversion. It's a pretty big conversion.
Absolutely.
So we haven't heard back from Sharon and Kevin as to if they would actually like to proceed with the conversion, but I just think this is a great example, and we talked about this when we discussed the big beautiful bill a few weeks ago, that we were going to introduce some ideas as to how people might be taking advantage of this over time, and I think this is a great one where they've got an extra $12,000 a room this year to potentially do a conversion if they like. They don't have to worry about the required minimum distributions yet, but next year they'll get to take advantage of the $12,000 again when they got to take the required minimum distribution.
Sounds good if they are compelled to do a Roth conversion. My answer, though, would be, why? Why pay taxes on the 12% bracket so that you can pull out a zero? I don't think so. But what I do think is it's always great to listen to our show every Saturday at 9 a.m. here on the Big 550 KTRS. See you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more straight talk on retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.